The temple does not teach you how to pass exams. It teaches you how to pass through life. In today's Siddhist world, many are equipped with degrees, but not with discipline. With certificates, but not with clarity. With knowledge, but lacking inner wisdom. There are essential skills that school by its very design does not teach, and if you do not learn these on your own, you will live confused in a world that demands clarity. So what are these skills? They are not hidden, nor are they complex. But they require daily training like the martial arts. Let us walk through them slowly. So I ask you, what if the real education is the one you give yourself every morning in silence, every evening in reflection, every moment you choose growth over comfort? And it is never too late to return to yourself. Train the mind. Discipline the body. Free the spirit. That is the real graduation. You were taught equations to solve problems on paper, but never taught how to solve the storms within you. In most education systems, excellence is measured by intellectual capacity, how well you memorize, analyze, and solve academic problems. However, outside those classroom walls, life presents different tests, ones that are emotional in nature. When someone insults you, how do you respond? When uncertainty grips your future, what guides your decisions? These are emotional problems, not mathematical ones. And the uncomfortable truth is, if you are unable to manage your inner world, you will be at the mercy of the outer world. That is why I say emotional regulation is not optional, it is fundamental. It is not a soft skill, it is a survival skill. And yet no syllabus, no school curriculum seems to prioritize it. From a Shaolin perspective, the mind is the general and the body is the soldier. But if the general is panicking, untrained, and impulsive, the entire army collapses. Emotional regulation is the art of calming the general. In the monastery, we are not told to avoid emotions or suppress them. We are trained to observe them, like clouds drifting across the sky. Anger comes, good, watch it. Sadness arises, okay, breathe through it. The problem is not the emotion. The problem is the identification with it. You are not the anger, you are the awareness that notices the anger. This simple distinction transforms reaction into response. When the emotion is no longer the master, you begin to live with clarity. But modern culture often teaches the opposite. We are encouraged to express everything instantly. Rage, fear, excitement, without first understanding what we are feeling or why. Social media amplifies this impulsivity. A moment of anger becomes a public rant. A moment of fear becomes an exaggerated belief. People act on emotions as if they were facts. And this creates a world full of chaos, misunderstanding, and regret. But emotions are like weather. They shift, they pass. To act upon them without reflection is like setting sail in a storm without checking the winds. Emotional regulation allows you to anchor yourself, to remain still even when the world shakes around you. That stillness is power. In practical terms, emotional regulation begins with self-awareness. Take time each day to observe your state. Are you anxious, restless, frustrated? Don't judge it, just notice it. Like a martial artist studies his own breath, study the rhythm of your moods. Once you know what you feel, ask, where does this emotion come from? Is it from fatigue, fear, insecurity, ego? This process of introspection builds emotional intelligence. It is like sharpening a sword. The more you understand your internal patterns, the more freedom you gain from them. Because you are no longer a prisoner of reaction, you become a student of the self. And that self, trained properly, becomes unshakable. Modern society places too much value on motivation, as if your success depends on how inspired you feel. You hear it often, I don't feel motivated, or I'm waiting to feel ready. But life does not wait for your mood. The seasons change whether or not you're prepared. The body ages with or without your permission, and the world does not pause while you gather inspiration. This is why the Shaolin path and the path of any mastery is not built on feelings. It is built on discipline. Discipline is what you do, regardless of how you feel. It is the choice to show up, to continue, to commit, again and again. While motivation asks, "Do I feel like doing this?" discipline replies, "It must be done." Think of the martial artist. He does not train only when he is excited or inspired. He trains every day, whether it is cold or hot, whether he slept well or not, whether the mind is loud or quiet. The repetition of movement, kick, strike, block, breathe, is not exciting. It is not glamorous. In the modern world, discipline is often mistaken for rigidity or suppression. But true discipline is not harsh. It is compassionate. It is the wisdom that says, "I care enough about my future that I will not be ruled by momentary pleasures." Discipline is the guardian of your long-term vision. A disciplined person is not someone without emotions. It is someone who has trained themselves to move forward in spite of them. At Shaolin, we do not force discipline through punishment. We cultivate it through structure and presence. Wake up at the same time. Train at the same time. Eat mindfully. Sit silently. These routines build an inner strength that no amount of motivation can replace. You must understand, motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. Some days it arrives with energy. Other days it is nowhere to be found. If your entire progress depends on motivation, your results will be inconsistent. But if you train your discipline, it becomes part of your identity. You no longer ask, "Should I do this?" You know it is a part of who you are. Like the sun rises each morning, your practice becomes automatic. And this consistency, day after day, year after year, is what builds greatness. Not the occasional moment of excitement, but the quiet, repeated commitment to the path. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and becoming. In school, we are taught how to speak clearly, how to present, how to debate, but rarely, if ever, are we taught how to truly listen. Not listening to reply, not listening to win, but listening to understand. This in the martial arts is the beginning of mastery. In combat, the one who listens with their whole being, who observes, who feels, who waits, is the one who survives. The same principle applies in daily life. Most people communicate only with their mouth, but a true practitioner communicates with their eyes, with their body, with their awareness. In Shaolin, we learn to be silent, not because we have nothing to say, but because we are learning to hear what cannot be heard with noise. Effective communication does not begin with the voice. It begins with presence. When you are speaking to someone, are you truly with them, or are you thinking about what to say next? Are you waiting for a gap to interject your opinion? Or are you actually absorbing their words, their emotions, their energy? True listening is a skill that sharpens perception, and when perception sharpens, wisdom follows. The reason many conflicts escalate is not because of what is said, but because people feel unheard, unseen. A warrior must train to listen without ego, to put aside the need to defend or prove, and instead create space for understanding. This is not weakness, it is a sign of inner strength. Communication is not merely about choosing the right words, it is about aligning your words with your intention and your energy. In the monastery, we are taught that words carry vibration. You can speak the truth in a way that cuts like a sword or in a way that heals like a balm. It all depends on your awareness. Do you speak from the ego or from stillness? Do you speak to dominate or to connect? Every word you release is a reflection of your state of mind, and so we train not just how to speak, but when not to speak. Sometimes silence communicates more than any sentence ever could. A glance, a pause, a respectful nod. These too are languages, just spoken without sound. We often forget the most powerful communicators are not those who talk the most, but those who listen the best. They read the room. They feel the emotions beneath the surface. They know when to speak and when to wait. This comes from cultivated attention, not natural talent. Like every skill, it must be trained. When you become skilled in communication, you begin to navigate life differently. Conflicts de-escalate, connections deepen, opportunities reveal themselves. You become someone people trust, not because you always have the answers, but because you truly hear them. In this noisy world, being able to listen deeply is a rare and priceless strength. Most education systems treat failure as something final, something shameful. You are taught to fear mistakes, to avoid being wrong, to seek perfection in every answer. But this conditioning creates fragile minds, minds that crumble under pressure, that give up at the first setback. In the monastery, failure is not punished, it is studied, it is embraced. Because failure is not the end, it is the beginning of awareness. It is the first real teacher. When you fail, life gives you feedback. You learn what you didn't know. You see what you ignored. You discover where your limits truly are. Without failure, growth is shallow. With failure, growth becomes deep-rooted and enduring. Resilience is not built in moments of success. It is forged in struggle. Think of a blade. Before it becomes sharp and strong, it must pass through fire and be struck repeatedly. That fire, that striking, this is failure, but it is not destruction. It is transformation. The same is true for the mind. When something does not go your way, when you fall short, when you are rejected or misunderstood, these moments are invitations to grow, but only if you remain present and willing. Most people turn away from failure too quickly. They distract themselves. They blame others. They give up. But those who endure, who face failure with open eyes and a steady breath, they evolve, slowly, silently, powerfully. In the Shaolin tradition, we train our bodies to fall. Literally, we learn how to land safely when thrown to the ground. Not because we want to fall, but because we will fall. Just like in life, you will lose, you will be hurt, you will be disappointed. This is not negativity, this is reality. And resilience means preparing for that reality, not with fear, but with readiness. When you fall and know how to rise, you are no longer afraid of the fall. Failure becomes a part of your training. It humbles the ego, sharpens your focus, and purifies your intention. But resilience is not just about pushing through, it is also about reflection, about understanding why something didn't work, what lesson was hidden within the pain, what belief was challenged, what strength had to awaken. The resilient person does not simply endure failure, they extract wisdom from it. That wisdom becomes part of their foundation. It makes them unshakable. Not because they never fall, but because no fall can break them. This kind of strength cannot be taught through books or theory. It must be lived, experienced, felt, and this is why failure should not be feared, but welcomed when it comes. Because each failure approached with awareness brings you closer to your true self. In today's world, everything urges you to move faster, achieve more, keep going. The mind, like a restless monkey, jumps from one thought to the next, future goals, past regrets, imagined worries, and endless noise. From childhood, we are trained to be productive, but not to be present. Mindfulness is not about sitting cross-legged with eyes closed. It is about returning again and again to the present moment, no matter where you are or what you are doing. When drinking tea, drink tea. When walking, walk. When breathing, breathe. This sounds simple, but it is the most difficult practice in a distracted world. Your mind will resist. It will pull you back into the past, or project you into the future. That is why we train. Not once, but daily. We observe the breath. We slow the steps. We return to silence. When you develop mindfulness, you no longer react impulsively. You begin to respond with awareness. The gap between trigger and action widens, and within that gap lies your freedom. Without mindfulness, life pushes you through stress, anxiety, frustration, desire. You become like a leaf in the wind, carried in every direction. But with mindfulness you become the mountain. The world may change, circumstances may shift, but inwardly you remain rooted. At Shaolin we train both the body and the mind, but it is the mind, disciplined through awareness, that gives the body its power. A strong body without mindfulness is dangerous. A strong mind without stillness is chaotic. But when the two are united through practice, the spirit becomes unstoppable. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness without noise. In stillness you begin to see not just the world but yourself, your fears, your patterns, your true nature. Most people avoid silence because it reveals too much. But what it reveals is what liberates you. In moments of mindfulness, time slows, breathing deepens, the heartbeat settles, you begin to touch something eternal within you. Something untouched by success or failure, praise or criticism. And from this inner space you begin to live, not from reaction but from awareness, not from confusion but from alignment. This is not taught in school, but it is taught by life itself if you are willing to listen with stillness and with presence. The most important skills for walking through this life, but the ones written in the quiet space within you. You were taught formulas, but not how to understand your own frustration. You were given lectures, but not the strength to stand up again after failure. You passed exams, but were never taught how to truly listen to yourself or to others. You were taught to chase, but not to be still. But the beautiful truth is, it is never too late to begin again. Never too late to return to yourself. You can learn emotional balance. You can train discipline. You can cultivate mindfulness and practice resilience. Every day is a new training ground. Every breath, a new opportunity. Not to be perfect, but to be aware. Not to perform, but to understand. So begin not with pressure, but with presence. Begin where you are, with patience, with sincerity, and with the unshakable trust, will be far more powerful than who you were trained to be.